Hello everybody, Sean Henderson Pierre back again, another beer ramble today. A rehash of Genesee Light. Yes, it's the second beer I've had a 25-ounce can of. This beer made its debut in 1978. Genesee Brewing Company. Surprisingly, the Alston brothers, the bros, gave it a positive score. And of course, it's not my second time reviewing this beer. I reviewed it previously. Genesee Brewing is not as popular as the cream ale or the lager or the ice, but still has a place up there. I believe the beer, the ABV on this is 3.8%. I can be wrong, folks. Believe me, I have been wrong many times before. So, 3.8% for the light beer. If it is wrong, folks, you'll see it on my comments when I type down. So the beer looks like your typical standard light beer. Nothing really fancy, interesting about it. Yellow, clear. It has this scent of sugar, corn, cooked vegetables. Yeah, tough. But bought this the day before, and I had this in my little cooler, and I got another one when I have later before I go to bed tonight. So, light beer is healthy for you, right? I had this before. I didn't taste any hop characteristics, but there's a little bit of it in this. For whatever the reason why, I don't know. But almost more of a lager than a light lager. Not bad. When I had it the first time. So we know about light brews. They became of popularity about the early 70s. At that time, tastes were changing during that time. People loved beer, but there was this big fitness kick that really kind of took over the country during that time, especially more so in the mid-70s. Early mid-70s, and people were like, hey, we love it, but we want to get in shape, we want to look healthy, we want to be firm and fit and all that good stuff. And some of the beer brewer companies were noticing that change. Miller was the first with Gentleman's, which became Miller Lite, made its debut in 1975, which I thought was 1978, and probably in my review, when I did Miller Lite the first time, I'll probably need to change that. They became the first. Then in 1977, Anheuser-Busch InBev, now at that time Anheuser-Busch, started with Natural Light. And that became a big seller. Crisp, refreshing, but again, great, excellent ingredients. If you listen to the commercial, Peter Graves, the actor, the late Peter Graves, and Norm Crosby, the comedian, I think he's still alive, were the faces of that beer brand. And of course, there was the guy called Jay Johnson. You can call me Jay, you can call me Ray, all that. They became the faces of that brewery, faces of that beer at that time. And in '78 came Coors Light. They came onto the scene, but seeing the success of the other two beers. So, and then in 1982, you have Bud Light and Budweiser Light at the time. Also, there was Schlitz Light, also came around about the same time after Miller Lite, in between Miller Lite and Natural Light. They came onto the scene. And then Keystone Light, Busch Light, Keystone Light came in 1988. Bush 89, excuse me, Bush Light also 1989, and so on and so forth. But of course, Miller High Life also came on the scene in 1986 as well, as is Milwaukee's Best Light in '86. So, and this came out in '78. But of all those beers that I mentioned at the time, and I forgot I mentioned Old Milwaukee Light too. As I mentioned at the time, a lot of those beers, those light beers, were premium brands. Particularly, some of them still are today. Miller Lite, Coors Light, and Bud Light. They're considered more premium light beers. And then you want to throw in Michelob Ultra now into that mix. You know, they came on in 2002, and now they're viewed as the ultimate superior light beer, as they like to be called. The others were Keystone Light, as I mentioned, Bush Light, Old Milwaukee Light, Milwaukee's Best Light, were premium, Natural Light, were premium brands at the time of their release. Now they're kind of viewed as the budget brand beers. You know, something you can get for cost next to nothing. You know, a couple bucks here, a couple bucks there. You know, maybe $8, $9 for a 12-pack. You know, they're considered more of the cheap brand, bargain basement brand beers. So, of all of them, this Genesee Light has not really gotten much love, or they're not sort of kind of been on the outskirts, on the outside of the light beer craze, of the light beer family. And maybe because of distribution at the time, because you know we've been starting to get a lot of their beers here in this area about 2014. Well, they were never in this size, a 25-ounce can. But we got some of their beers there in 2014. I think there was only one place I can get Genesee and Genesee Light and the lager, and that was at Cottage Hill Package Store. But at the time, I wasn't really in the mood of getting that big 30-pack. So that's a lot of beer. So now they've been selling in 25-ounce cans. If you go around the Mobile area, particularly for me, I've been seeing like maybe 3 or 4 stores I've been able to get this Genesee Cream Ale and Genesee Light. So, yeah, I said this came out in 1978, so it doesn't get the whole light beer embrace or hug or love as compared to the other brands, even the bargain basement brand or budgeted brand light beers. But nonetheless, I don't know about this. I mean, this is good. I mean, this is some hot characters in this one. And same thing I felt about Miller High Life. Light had that same sort of taste. That was more enjoyable than the Miller High Life. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love High Life. And I would get High Life all the time. But I probably would get the High Life Light because it's just something that has a little more, maybe a bit more hoppy than the original. For whatever the case that just is. And this is kind of, it's giving me that same feeling with this here. So, of course, their popular brand, of course, as I mentioned, Genesee, of all their beers, of the two, obviously the lager and the cream ale. The lager came out in 1878. Of course, they are New York's first oldest brewery, the state of New York's oldest brewery in Rochester. And then cream ale came out in 1960, and that was still, to this day, an excellent beer to have. Both of them, in my opinion. Lager, sugary, has a bit of a sugar, mini sweet taste to it, but it has more of a lager feel. And yes, that's kind of how you describe the cream ale, Genesee cream ale, and that's kind of how I look at it. But with this, again, not bad. Again, the hop characteristic now, if it was more readily available everywhere, I'm sure it would have probably done well. Probably would have stood toe to toe with some of the other light beers that as I mentioned earlier. But again, distribution as being what it is, because at that time was mostly concentrated mostly up the Northeast and New York State, New Jersey, PA. Parts of Ohio and then parts of New England, but now it's been trickling its way more further out to the Midwest and definitely down here in the Southeast. So Mid-Atlantic and Southeast. Very easy drinking, very refreshing. I'm not going to go on and on about this again. Any light lager or light lagers, you compare this with anything. Again, ribs, hot wings, barbecue wings, pizza, you name it, it will go well with it. So I'm going to give this the same score if it's still on there on Beer Advocate. They said it was, also gave it a high score, I think it was a 71, but that was, again, a long time ago. Now, things have changed on Beer Advocate, if you've noticed, in terms of how they score their beers. So, if I'm going to give it between a 1 to 10 score for the style, I'm going to give this a B plus for me. And this was kind of me, if it is the same score I gave it when I did Genesee Light the first time, maybe I gave it a lower score, I don't know. But a B plus, very good, just a good light lager to have. Again, a bit hoppy, but that's okay. And beers that are a bit hoppy, that's always a positive. So anyway, so that is my score, B plus. So that would be a 8.7, 8.8, about fair. Genesee Light. John Henderson, Pierre, the Beer Ramilton, and keep on watching as always. Cheers. Genesee Light.